If your spouse has died or you're dying and you're doing estate planning and you're thinking about a spouse in terms of what happens after you die, I want you to stop and listen to this very carefully. Because the concept of elective share and the rights that a spouse has when their spouse goes and becomes unalive is critical, and you really need to understand the way this operates. One of the black holes or blind spots that I see happening out there is sometimes the rights of the surviving spouse are not given the priority they're entitled to, particularly when you have other children. Now, I think that, if mom or dad are here and it's the same mom and dad of the children, they're respecting mom or dad, the surviving spouse. Not always the case, seen some really bad examples, but where I really see this issue bubbling up is this is a second marriage. Dad got married when he came down here. Maybe mom, dad, whatever, died up there, and dad's come down here with a decent pot of money. They sold the business up in Michigan. Dad's got an estate here, and the kids over here of that first marriage are helping dad with the estate planning. And oftentimes there is this family history in here, which is really important. Maybe it was grandmom and granddad's business that allowed mom and dad to be successful. And oftentimes there is this through line of believing that because the family wealth here came from grandmom, granddad, whatever, and they want to make sure it passes through to the blood of grandmom and granddad or whatever, then there is this attitude that I see persisting that, hey, we're just going to kind of carve out the new stepmom over here and make sure that our money goes to us. And where I see this playing out, even on the professional class, is the CPA, the financial advisor, whatever, adopts this mentality, which seems perfectly rational at the front end. And even the donor over here goes, hey, that was my wife's family's business or whatever else like that. We're going to make sure that, it goes to the kids over here. And the second spouse is just kind of left with, okay, well, that's the way you want it, and that's the way they wanted to do it here. But what that misses is this critical concept of elective share. It's the law, and the law exists for a very good reason, and that is that surviving spouse has critical rights, and those rights are oftentimes far superior than those of the beneficiary class over here. But let's talk about what happened in 2023, because again, this is critical, and I guarantee you the vast majority of the people over here in this fiduciary professional class have no idea what it means, and they're playing games, or they're just doing good estate planning without understanding the way this really operates. So the deal is this. Dad or the donor class over here has a big estate. They got equity accounts, they got gold, they got a house, they got life insurance, retirement accounts, all this other kind of thing. And the donor is trying to figure out a way, hey, I'm going to take care of my spouse, but I got to make sure that most of this stuff passes over here. That's all well and good. But where this goes wrong is where the professional, the fiduciary class over here is trying to play games with this and trying to exclude or reduce down the estate for purposes of elective share. We're calling it the augmented elective share estate. Here's another part where it gets really tricky, and that is Homestead. So obviously here in Florida, Homestead can be really expensive. We got, waterfront houses. We got the house down in Key West. We got the Homestead Naples or whatever else like that. Calculating how that elective share and how the value of that house works into the elective share is super complex. And then the complex issue of plugging in all those equities in there to figure out what that looks like. Here's where all this collides and where families blow up. We got a decedent over here, the patriarch, the matriarch of the family, whatever, the one that had all the money. They went and worked with their financial advisor. They put all this complex stuff together, revocable trusts and other instruments. The spouse is kind of kept a little bit in the dark because, she's not the long-term spouse or whatever. She's been married for a couple of years. Met her on the golf course, in the villages, in Naples, whatever else like that. And she's just happy to get what she gets. And again, I see this a lot in the States where there's a lot of money. If the donor's giving her $1 million in the house or whatever else like that, she seems to be happy. And again, this is all conspired with the kids over here. But the reality is she may be entitled to a whole hell of a lot more than that. And if you are that surviving spouse and that estate comes along, understand the relationship of the attorney for the personal representative. Understand the relationship of the attorney for the dead person and the potential conflict of interest for all these kids over here. That attorney may not be looking out for your best interest. Oftentimes that's disclosed. The attorney should say, hey, wife, you got to go get your own attorney. We like it when that happens. In the vast majority of circumstances, this all happens on the up and up. And we talk about what was the estate planning, what was done. I've had attorneys say, hey, that CPA, that financial advisor totally got it wrong. And the number that they calculated was this, and we all know the number is that. And it's the job of us working together to make sure that all of this is done properly. But this blows up when the beneficiary class over here doesn't like the way the law works, particularly as it relates to the surviving spouse. So we've developed a calculator here. I did it because, quite frankly, nothing existed. And you had a lot of people that were doing this elective share calculation literally on a piece of legal paper. But we've done something different, calculated and built out a tool that is an elective share calculation that allows us to pile all the stuff in there, do some real-world calculations, fiduciary values, all these other things, and come up with a number that can compare against what's really owed. If you need to look at that elective share calculation, if you need that little whiz-bang-boom elective share calculator, like and subscribe in here so we can push this over to you. Let you take a look at it.